As you can see, it's very busy around me. I'm here in the European Parliament in Brussels, and we have a plenary session here. One of the things that's going to be discussed, and it's kind of the warm-up really for the next few weeks and months, is Brexit. Now, amongst the discussions tomorrow, there'll be all sorts of different points of views, and lots of people trying to achieve the best for all of the peoples of Europe, undoubtedly. But one premise that I think needs to be acknowledged is the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom a liar? Is she? Now, do you remember the recent general election that she called? She'd said on film more than a dozen times she wasn't going to, and then she did. Do you remember the number of times she said that her deal would be removing us from the single market? The number of times she said it was countless, and yet here we are. It's not. She said that she would respect the integrity of the United Kingdom, and particularly Northern Ireland. Well, it would appear that the DUP and many other people from Northern Ireland do not feel that's happening at all. This lady, time and time again, has made questionable statements and promises. And the latest one is one I really want to address. She said that under the terms of her deal, we could still do trade deals with other countries. And yet straight away, President Donald Trump says he doesn't think that's possible. Now, she then went on to say, well, it is possible actually, we can do it. So here's a person who is saying that we can do deals with other countries. Straight away, she's countermanded by the leader of another country, and she still continues to say that same line. Now, is she lying? Is she deluded? Is she simply reading a script and can't understand what's coming back to her? But this is a major factor now in this whole Brexit situation, and something that I will be pointing out in some detail, given the opportunity, to this Parliament and to the public and anywhere I can. How can you do a deal? How can you talk about a situation where the person who's supposedly the leader of the United Kingdom actually couldn't tell the truth if it was written in front of her on a script? Maybe that's the problem. Maybe she has got a script, she just can't move from it. It's time for some honesty all the way along in this process of Brexit that's dragged on and on and on. There's been no real honesty. There's been pledges of something from our government, and then they've come here and they've said something different. The EU negotiators are understandably baffled by it because the different messages coming out are crazy. I don't blame the EU negotiators, I never have for all of this. I blame our own government for giving out such conflicting, contrasting, and sometimes absolutely lying statements. It really is time now that the truth came out. We're at the final few minutes. This is the end of this whole period. We've got to make this work, and we've got to make it work with some real honesty coming forward. And I'll be pointing out every point when Theresa May says something that isn't entirely true. I think we need to point it out, we need to understand it. I genuinely think that we have a major issue where the person running our country appears to be a compulsive liar, and it makes it very, very difficult. I mean, for goodness sake, she makes Tony Blair look like the most honest man you've ever met. This is how bad it is. So we need to point this out, and we need to understand when a statement comes from her, or her government, or the lackeys of her government, or these projections and forecasts being put forward by her government, they are all there for a reason. This is not an honest appraisal. I'll give you one example. The latest projections saying the economy is going to slump after Brexit. Well, you know what? If you have a model of an economy that's designed around decades and decades of being in the EU, and then you remove it from the EU, it may not do too well. But what about a model of the economy where you remove it from the EU and we slash or get rid of corporation tax, VAT, we change things, we do trade deals with other countries, we change the scenario. Of course, it will be a different projection on how the economy will do then, won't it? These things are not being factored in. These projections and forecasts are yet more lies. Over the coming weeks and months, I'll continue to try and dig through to the truth and report back to all of you to let you know the things that I've found out and what's happening out here. Watch this space. It's going to be even more intense. These are the most important few weeks and months in the modern history of our country.